What's going on, folks, and welcome back today for another Walking Dead not review recap, because that means we're breaking all the spoilers down of episode 12, The Lucky One. So by now you should have had the chance to watch it, whether you watched it a week ago on AMC Plus or watched it tonight on AMC. But as I said, this is a recap, which means we're getting full into spoilers. And I keep saying we, and why am I saying we? Because I must not be alone today. Of course, I'm going to do a recap. I got to make it special. And you guys, you all know this guy. I shouldn't even have to introduce him. Y'all should already know who it is. I shouldn't even have to even do all of this. I should just bring him in and y'all can be like, yeah, I know that guy. Of course you know that guy, the one and only Julian Cannon. Julian, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, Chambers? I am alive here. My son is sleeping, and we're talking about The Walking Dead today.
Yeah. So again, folks, this is episode 12 of season 11, The Lucky Ones. Let's start at the top of the episode here as we see my man Eugene trying to put it all together now. He done got catfished.
Yes, especially at the last episode where he got completely worked. Now it's just the realization that, oh my God, this is not Stephanie.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy. I also love what's happening with the character because he's been so, let's not say weird, but he's just been so Eugene-ish. But now we're starting to see him become a little unhinged, and I love a good unhinged character. And I think nothing ever makes anybody be more unhinged than a breakup or a heartbreak or anything in terms of love. And here we go with the need right now of the Commonwealth to go scour the world to figure out where Neve and Max is at, because Eugene needs some help at this point, because my man got catfished. A Stephanie that wasn't a Stephanie, that just to find out that this new person who's Stephanie isn't Stephanie, because that person is Max. There's a lot going on. I feel bad for the guy, but what was your thoughts about all of this?
I'm loving it. And before I even get to my thoughts, let's not give MTV any ideas for an episode of Catfish with that story. But I'm loving it. Josh McDermott has done really well for this season when it comes to his acting and delivering his lines. More so in the last episode on this episode. But I'm completely on board with this ongoing story here. And hey, maybe they might get together like they did on a comic, but more on that later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm loving Max. I think, if we're just going to look at it for what it is. I mean, she instantly, the moment she's on scene with him, the energy between the two of them as actors, I'm loving it. But also because this is really like them starting over again.
Right.
Like, he was completely broken down. I mean, yes, he came to the Commonwealth on hope and sense of finding somebody he's been talking to on the radio all this time, and the hope and the promise and love being at the end of the tunnel. But obviously he got bamboozled. So now that the real person's here, it ain't just oh yes, finally. It is like I really got to start over. Like, nothing against you, but I'm completely broken. And like you said, Josh, I think this has been his best performance between these two episodes. And now we're seeing a little bit of a transformation with this character. I am super intrigued. But I will say one other thing. And whether you want to classify a catfish as somebody pretending to be somebody else, or a catfish is just an imposter syndrome and whatnot, he also was kind of catfishing back in the day too, when he was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to Washington. I got this all figured out. I'm restarting the world, but he really didn't have it. So,
but he was on the receiving end of a punch by Abraham, though.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
Another side note before we continue, I did like how they showed Max's side when they started the conversations. I thought that was quite interesting. Yeah. And another thing to know that Max and Mercer are brother and sister, which did not happen in the comic, but I'm totally fine with it, because that was an interesting change, and now we're going to see the power struggle between these two since they're both in the Commonwealth.
Yes. Now, the other question, besides that, you bring up Mercer. This has been my biggest question. And, this is one of the critical points that I couldn't talk about in the review, non-spoiler, is Mercer said it is especially dangerous for me and you in talking to Max. What is he talking about here? And is this like a political issue? Is this because she's in the government, he's military, which is also could be a conflict of interest, or is he going straight to the core and saying because we're black and we're black people of power, in here, and this now puts us on like and this is not something that's introduced in The Walking Dead, but the way how he said it, I mean, I can't help but to say I feel what you're saying, but that's not what we see in the show. So like, where did your mind kind of take you when you seen it? Did you think politics? Did you think this show, or do you think there might be trying to tap into that idea of like there could be systematic racism or any type of prejudice for the two of them because of this?
Well, I think of two things. One, it could be political due to the fact that Mercer's the head of security and Max is pretty close with the governor. Well, Pamela Milton, not the governor from earlier.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a mix of a political struggle, because we saw what happened to the other guy who pretty much went out of line with the Commonwealth. And Daryl pretty much saved him, even though he wanted to present that Sebastian arrested him. But I think it's more of a political struggle. And so your second question, that was part of it. I think it might be a little race struggle too down the line, especially with what happened in the comics as well, with the whole guard getting beat up and then next the riot happened.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, everybody. So I'm also wondering if the world is really ready for that, since we're a few years after the whole George Floyd stuff.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the comments. And I remembered that was the first thing I thought about when the Commonwealth got introduced. It's like, oh my God, I don't think people are going to be ready. And then obviously the social climates in society, was this the right time? And, now we revisit that question again. Although when the Commonwealth was first introduced, I would absolutely completely agree that it wasn't the right time. But do we go back to that now? And that little tidbit was very small in this episode, but it spoke volumes to me as to like, oh, the shift could be changing. So, and like you said, the source material with that, like that's some of the craziest things that really, brings real light to the Commonwealth that seems so peaceful, so graceful, everything besides Lance, but we'll get to that in a second. But let's talk a little bit more about Pamela Milton, who is not worried about all these little other communities in other states. Now, when she said that, I thought about something. And, me being from the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, I know Alexandria is clearly in Virginia. And the Commonwealth, which Virginia happens to be the Commonwealth of Virginia, I'm curious, where are these locations at? If they're talking about other states, is the Commonwealth not in Virginia?
On the show, I believe it's in Ohio, just like it is in a comic, because earlier in season 11, there was Ohio flags in one of the rooms.
That's right. Yeah, when she said that, I was like, what is she talking about? But yeah, okay, so cool. They make the little trip to Ohio to Virginia, and this is a scouting efforts. And there's a lot to really make of this, because obviously this is Lance's pitch to Pamela as to like pitch. Yeah, for sure. We want to create relationships. We want to work with these other communities, and we can offer them protection, and we can show a display in strength. And for them, what do they want? Of course they're going to want these things, but we can offer whatever it is that they may be, medical, food, supplies, whatever it is. But Pamela, as we kind of see throughout this episode, she really isn't thinking forward about expansion. She is very safe within the confines of her walls. And I don't think she's playing like, big person in the castle. I think she just realizes there's a lot within the walls before you start thinking outside the walls. And I think what was really telling was that when she said, and we'll get to this in a second, but when she said to Maggie about not being able to sleep at night because she's completely haunted by the idea that she has to protect her people. That's a dream and a convention that we've seen across the show for many seasons of whoever the leader is. If you truly care about your folks, whether you were the governor, whether you were Rick, whoever it may be, these things really eat at you. And you're not thinking about anything else but besides that. And I think this is where we start to see a little bit of conflict that's going to come down the line between Pamela and Lance, because he's like, and we know he's self-motivated, which we also will talk about in a second. But like, if he's supposed to be her right-hand man and he's not really aligned with her views, this is when we're going to also see other struggle within politics. So for you now, to kind of, since we set the table here, what is your thoughts now about Pamela being outside the wall, going on this voyage, meeting, Oceanside, obviously meeting Maggie, which is the big thing, and Alexandria. What's all Hilltop? Excuse me.
Hilltop.
What is your thoughts about all of these things happening?
Well, first off, I believe this is going to be to start to see where that rift was between the first introduction of the Commonwealth to Alexandria to that time skip that happened at the end of, I believe it was episode 9.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the start to see the rift. I think Pamela's want to try to protect her city. I won't even call it a community because that's 50,000 people there. Protect her city over there because she doesn't want any kind of bad shit that's going to go on there. But knowing that we've watched this show for years, it's bound to happen.
Yeah,
she has all of her freaking trooper guards there with all these guns, especially since we saw that on this episode with that awesome Walker kill sequence. So the dynamic between Pamela and Lance, I don't think it's going to go completely unbalanced unless he has a fetish of trying to give with all these communities. And it even goes to the point whether Pamela trusts all these communities or not, because Maggie doesn't trust her. Oceanside wants to, but they're pretty much aligned with Maggie. Alexandria wants to help, especially all that we saw with Aaron, who's looking a lot like Rick from the comics these days. So it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions when you look at this from a few different surfaces, especially since Pamela's the governor of that town.
Yeah. What? This is another thing. Obviously, couldn't talk about non-spoiler wise, but Aaron, why do you think Aaron is so open to Lance? I mean, he did say, Alexandria, like, things happen, but we rebuild. So clearly they show resilience 10 times over,
Right.
But why all of a sudden, like, you're just like, yeah, Lance, let's make this happen. I mean, he's almost conspiring with him, where he's just like, this is the plan. If you don't do this, then you don't get that. And it's kind of it's strange to me, because even with this whole I'll say evolution of Aaron that we're getting now, in mindset, he's back to old Aaron where you're just following again. But we start to see leader Aaron coming about, and I don't think this is a leader move. Maggie's making leader moves. What's her name in Oceanside's making leader moves, even though she said we're following Maggie, but we're doing what we're doing. But Aaron all of a sudden is, yeah, whatever you got, Weasel Lance. Well, I'm with you. It's weird to me. But what is your thoughts?
I say go for it. Alexandria's been struggling. All the other communities are struggling. Go for it. Why not?
Opportunities.
Join the team, man. Go for it. But I do like the conversations he had with Lance. I thought those scenes was really, really good, especially towards the end with Lance said that very badass line before he killed that Walker.
That was a very dope scene, how they shot that and everything.
It was.
So, talking more about Pamela, it should be clear, not only do I feel like she's comfortable with being and working within what she has within the walls, but yes, I think she's self-sufficient. I feel like she can handle her own, but she's extremely uncomfortable outside the walls. Do you think that's another part of the motivation, that she goes out there, and as much as this was a display and offering to these communities, do you also think this was like a realization for Pamela to realize, like, look, I'm not about this life. Like, forget it. Like, I see the struggle, but I'm not about this life.
No, she isn't. It even relates to real life. A lot of these people who are upper class, you would not want to see them go to New York City in the bad areas. No, you wouldn't. They wouldn't go there. Why? Because they want to see the luxury style. They want to see the shit they see on commercials. You would not want to see them in a bad area full of gangs. I guess that's how Pamela feels when she first saw Alexandria.
It's just like, oh, this place. And when she saw Maggie and her display of strength taking down the walkers with ease, as they do, I mean, it looks like and I thought that was cool because we know Maggie, but I like how they shot this in a way that it looks like Maggie was struggling, but Maggie was like, this is just another day, because you had to do that, because that created the mindset that at this point Pamela's like, nah, that's gonna be a no for me, big dog. Like, I think that was like the idea when she first was clicking, like, no. But as the important thing we should talk about right now is the conversation between Pamela and Maggie. And I think this was a very, very important moment. I think the perception, maybe even with the time jump, that we think that Pamela's back at home calling shots, telling the military to go down there and say, listen, y'all need to buy in or else.
Yeah.
And that makes Pamela look like the bad guy. But in this scene, we see that Pamela and Maggie, there's an understanding between them. And I also think not only understanding, I think there is a very defined level of trust. And I think the two of them look at each other. I think they're both feminists in a way that they say, like, we run our state, our cities, our organizations, our towns, whatever it may be. We're badasses. We do these things, and you do it your style, do it my style. But at the end of the day, we're trying to protect our people, and we're doing that. And I think that, like, that walk, I think that solidified that, like, I don't feel there's tension there. But am I wrong? Well, so what do you think?
It goes back to what I said before. You may not feel the tension, but something might be brewing. I mean, Maggie felt like that later in the episode that Diane left and some of her other people left. Yeah, I think all of her people except maybe one or two are going to leave because they see shit that's better in the Commonwealth. Yeah, my computer just shaked. They see better shit in the Commonwealth than they do on their own. It goes back to what I said before also. Why do we need to keep struggling killing walkers and trying to rebuild this when the good stuff is already there on the surface? Because, there's the bad stuff also in the Commonwealth. And that makes me back another question. Why all of a sudden everyone's struggling to kill walkers these days?
The dramatics. It's all the dramatics, And
I know, but it's just something I really picked up.
Do you think there may be like a level of fatigue here where everybody may be just kind of over the idea of this is what life is? I mean, you go to the Commonwealth, you do kind of reset life. There's some normalcy out there. I mean, you go to the doctors, you get money, you work a job, you have all these, right? You get an apartment, you got training, and that right there, I mean, it's just like a change of location where you're just like, man, I don't like it in this city no more. Let me restart here, and you get a new pep in your step. But do you think they're trying to display fatigue here in the sense of like everybody outside the walls is just like same old, here we go again. I'm tired of this. Boy.
Yeah, I can't blame them. I can't blame any single one of them. Speaking of Commonwealth, another scene I did like was the stuff between Ezekiel and Carol.
Yes.
Ezekiel pretty much figured out that Carol was the one who jumped him up on the line. So they have an argument, and I got to side with Carol here. She freaking helped him, especially since they used to be married. Helped him get in the line front. Ezekiel doesn't realize that she did a lot to do that, especially with the wine a few episodes ago. And Ezekiel freaking argues about it. I'm like, why even question it? Yeah, sure, there's other people sick there, but look at the size of the tumor on your neck. Carol just saved your fucking life.
Listen, get out that ego, sir. She saved you, and that is what it is. Call it a day, bro. Like, you gotta let that pride go.
You got the free jump to the line. Even Jerry had a good laugh about it. Free jump to the line. Why question it?
Yeah. And like Ezekiel is I'm not gonna say a man of faith because there's clearly a man of faith in there, but he has been a person that kind of leaned towards like in terms of good karma and putting out positivity. So like, chalk it up for what it is, sir. Like, you deserve this moment to happen. But at the same time, if you think if it's just like you getting this then is taken away from somebody else, I think that mindset is very bad. And you also got to trust that Carol has always had your best interest, like you said, and she does do things by any means necessary to protect her people, especially you, sir. You would do the same thing. So cut it out. Don't get inside the walls of the Commonwealth and then all of a sudden just lose your all this common sense and all this morale that you had before. Like this, don't switch it up. So lose that ego, lose that pride, sir.
Yeah, if this was any other community, I would have still said, hey, jump the line first because medical supplies are very scarce in these areas.
Yeah. Get well soon, sir. You'll have a card and some balloons coming soon. So
that's right.
That's that. So what else do we got to talk about here? So we got that. Trying to make sure we got everything else. I was like quickly
the combos between Daryl and Mercer. That's a duo I did not expect that had good chemistry.
Yeah, I think that first of all, I mean Daryl. Okay, so I do get the idea that Daryl shouldn't have been in armor because it definitely doesn't look right, especially when you go back. Sorry. But yes, you're still military or part of the police force, whatever it is. So like, yeah, there's structured organization to it. You know that. You don't just get to lose your armor, then get to lose everything you learned about in your training. So I get Mercer on that note. But I think also too, I just think like the two of them, they just they're just buddies that don't realize they're really buddies. Like, and I get you probably can't miss like business and in pleasure in terms of like friendship over like principle or whatnot. Yeah. But come on, y'all the bros, y'all the homies. Just cut it out. Y'all both respect each other in different likes, but at the end of the day, y'all know like you two are the two of the most needed assets in terms of protection. Like you two,
both the city and the communities.
Exactly. So it's just funny to me. I mean, and I like to see Mercer when he's stern, but also like when he gets to like, get a joke in there and get a quick laugh and whatnot. So like I'm buying into it, man. I'm really, really buying into it. I'm definitely pro Mercer the entire way, and I will always be Daryl to the day I die. So we must protect our Daryl, which we know he's good because yes, we already spoiled that with future products to come. So
yeah, they did.
Yeah, but whatever. So yeah, what else is? I mean, like I said, I thought
here's a quick fun fact. We've also found out that Diana, the former owner of Alexandria, and Pamela somehow knew each other.
Yeah. So obviously in their times back running in circles in terms of politics and whatnot, Diana picked up the picture and was like, I knew her. And I thought that was a nice little tidbit, nice little Easter egg and whatnot. And I think it also just establishes that like Pamela just ran in circles of folks of power her entire life, before, middle, and after. She's always going to run with that, which I also think as much as she respects Maggie, I think it's still like an issue. Like, yeah, you do run your stuff, but like, politician, like you don't speak our language and whatnot. So there may be a little bit of ironing out between the two of them, but who knows? But yeah, I wanted to say this too. Yeah, Maggie, although I think she respects Pamela, it's Maggie. And should I say Maggie and Carol are both exactly the same when it comes to this mindset. I see what y'all doing. I trust y'all, but I'm keeping y'all at arm's length. Like in the sense of like, I'm always going to be suspicious of everybody that I was not on the road with. And while it seemed like we're playing nice, and even though Maggie declined, and I don't think it was a harsh decline, she just said like, this is what we're keeping it what it is. But I think she's always going to have like one foot in, 1 foot out. And in this case, I think she's going to have one eye in and one eye over in terms of like making sure that they're doing what they're doing, because they'll be back. Of course they'll be back because Lance is going to be persistent here. But I think Maggie's going to make sure she has her ears to the streets to know what's happening, but ultimately preparing for the worst and ultimate protection of her folks. So good thing. And I also think too, like it's very intimidating while the military, they come in there and or I keep saying soldiers or military, whatever it is.
Commonwealth soldiers.
Yeah, Commonwealth soldiers. They showed a display of strength. And some people say like, yes, we're protected. And then there's going to be folks that says, oh, that's intimidating. And never come out with a sales pitch and y'all whispering to each other. That's an automatic no for me. If you ever bought a car and you trying to work the finances, and then the finance officer comes in and then the salesperson, they're whispering to each other, and you're like right in front of them, like, I don't want the car. Whatever y'all doing, y'all hustling.
You walk out that dealership right there and there because they're a bunch of snake oil salesmen.
Yep. Y'all hustling right in front of my face, and y'all think I'm stupid. And I think that's what Maggie was thinking, is like, I see y'all right there. Y'all literally are up to something, you know what it is, and I'm not messing with that. So, yeah. But
overall, I thought it was a really, really strong episode.
Yeah. I like how season 11 has really been diverse in terms of the toning of the episodes, trying to tell stories with different styles. I felt like last episode with Eugene was like an old school 80s detective show. And then we got a couple of episodes before that where it felt like a horror haunted house or a horror house type of film. And I think this one too. I think this one is a very Walking Dead-ish of what we're accustomed to in the past, but with a lot of emotion and a lot of depth to our characters. That's just not one dimensional as to like that person hates that person. That's it. Like I think we're seeing a lot of play on characters in terms of like filling each other out and really either catering to the fans of the television show and also catering to the fans of the comics. I think the show did was like a really good crossroads of mixing that all together to really keep us on our edge, because we have no clue where they're going next here at all. And we still got the big weasel Lance himself that is like, I'm not giving up. And he's still not even the biggest problem to me, I think, coming up. So we will see.
Overall, this episode gets a 9 out of 10 for me. Dialogue was great. Action scenes was awesome, especially when the way they killed those walkers in that sequence. Like what they're setting up for the next few stories, especially since, again, before from when they met Alexandria to that 6-month time gap, they set up a lot of stories to tell what happened in between.
Yeah,
and a lot of good scenes there. So this was a very moving forward episode.
Yep, and the only thing I add is performances. I thought that Josh really came to the party, showed out, and can't wait to see what's up with Eugene going forward. So, but yeah, folks, this is our recap of episode 12, the lucky ones of season 11, part B, part 2, whatever you want to be. Myself, Najir, along self of Julian Cannon. We'll have some more recaps in the future. So definitely make sure you stay tuned in for that. And jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts about this episode, predictions going into episode 13, and all that and more. We'll see you all very soon for more Walking Dead content.
Peace.